Good morning. It's Thursday, Maundy Thursday, the day we remember Jesus celebrating Passover with his disciples, beginning our practice of Lord's Supper, sharing bread and cup, and going into the garden to pray, and then being arrested and the beginning of the trials. Today I'm going to sing first, and then because the song is in the garden, or is about the time in the garden, and then we'll read the passage of scripture, which is pretty long, starting in chapter 26, verse 57. 'Tis midnight, and on Olive's brow the star is dimmed that lately shone. 'Tis midnight in the garden now. The suffering Savior prays alone. 'Tis midnight, and from all removed Emmanuel wrestles lone with fears. In that disciple whom he loved heeds not his master's grief and tears. 'Tis midnight, and for others' guilt the man of sorrows weeps in blood. Yet he who hath in anguish knelt is not forsaken by his God. Let's read the passage. Those who arrested Jesus led him to Caiaphas, the high priest. The legal experts and the elders had gathered there. Peter followed him from a distance until he came to the high priest's courtyard. He entered that area and sat outside with the officers to see how it would turn out. The chief priests and the whole council were looking for false testimony against Jesus so that they could put him to death. They didn't find anything they could use from the many false witnesses who were willing to come forward, but finally they found two who said, "This man said, 'I can destroy God's temple and rebuild it in 3 days.'" Then the high priest stood and said to Jesus, "Aren't you going to respond to the testimony these people have brought against you?" Jesus was silent. The high priest said, "By the living God, I demand that you tell us whether you are the Christ, God's Son." "You said it," Jesus replied, "but I say to you that from now on you will see the human one sitting on the right side of the Almighty and coming on the heavenly clouds." Then the high priest tore his clothes and said, "Oh, he's insulting God! Why do we need any more witnesses? Look, you've heard his insult against God. What do you think?" And they answered, "He deserves to die." Then they spit in his face and beat him. They hit him and said, "Prophesy for us, Christ. Who hit you?" Meanwhile, Peter was sitting outside in the courtyard. A servant woman came to him and said, "You were also with Jesus the Galilean." But he denied it in front of all of them. "I don't know what you're talking about." When he went over to the gate, another woman saw him and said to those who were there, "This man was with Jesus, the man from Nazareth." With a solemn pledge, he denied it again, saying, "I don't know the man." A short time later, those standing there came and said to Peter, "You must be one of them. The way you talk gives you away." Then he cursed and swore, "I don't know the man." At that very moment the rooster crowed. And Peter remembered Jesus' words, "Before the rooster crows, you will deny me 3 times." And he went out and cried uncontrollably. Early in the morning, all the chief priests and the elders of the people reached the decision to have Jesus put to death. They bound him, led him away, and turned him over to Pilate, the governor. Now I'm going to skip a short section here about Judas's death, not because I don't want to read it, but just because the passage is already really long. We're going to go to verse 11, where Jesus begins to be questioned by Pilate. Jesus was brought before the governor. The governor said, "Are you king of the Jews?" Jesus replied, "Well, that's what you say." But he didn't answer when the chief priests and elders accused him. Then Pilate said, "Don't you hear the testimony they bring against you?" But he didn't answer. Jesus didn't answer, not even a single word. So the governor was greatly amazed. It was customary during the festival for the governor to release to the crowd one prisoner, whomever they might choose. At that time there was a well-known prisoner named Jesus Barabbas. When the crowd had come together, Pilate asked them, "Whom would you like me to release to you, Jesus Barabbas or Jesus who is called Christ?" He knew that the leaders of the people had handed him over because of jealousy. While he was serving as judge, his wife sent this message to him: "Leave that righteous man alone. I've suffered much today in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and the elders persuaded the crowds to ask for Barabbas and kill Jesus. The governor said, which of the two do you want me to release to you?" "Barabbas," they replied. Pilate said, "Then what should I do with Jesus who is called Christ?" "Crucify him!" But Pilate said, "Why? What wrong has he done?" "Crucify him!" Pilate saw that he was getting nowhere and that a riot was starting. So he took water and washed his hands in front of the crowd. "I'm innocent of this man's blood," he said. "It's your problem." All the people replied, "Let his blood be on us and on our children." Then he released Barabbas to them. He had Jesus whipped, then handed him over to be crucified.